know what? This guy didn't let those folks stand in his way. He was handed a bunch of lemons, right? But he knew how to make lemonade. Now, I share this with you because as leaders, sometimes we get a bunch of lemons. Sometimes we hit a lot of bumps in the road. Sometimes it just seems like one thing after another crops up in our lives. And the best response is not to throw a pity party, right? Well, we can throw one, but we can't wallow in pity. Our next best response is, guess what? That's right, it's gratitude. We must cultivate an attitude of gratitude, which means that we must be able to identify, pay attention to, and appreciate the negative forces, the negative people, the negative events in our lives, so that we can be intentional to harvest what we learn and to reap the many benefits that come our way as a result of those negative experiences. Research shows that when you can be grateful rather than hateful about bad experiences, you can actually see the silver lining and see behind what appears to just be a big, fat, gloomy cloud. By being grateful instead of hateful, you can give your psychological and physical immune system a leg up. You can actually give it a boost, right? And you can rewire your brain. In fact, you can alter your brain and your mindset so that gratitude can become a way of moving through the world. It can become a habit, okay? It can become a practice, the way that you approach life. When I was a little girl, my parents insisted that I appreciate who I was. Okay, that I appreciate whose I was, that I appreciate my sisters, that I appreciate them, okay, that I appreciate my teachers, my neighbors, my friends, even when we didn't see eye to eye, even when they said mean things to me, even when people or events became bumps in my road. They insisted because they knew it would transform me. Right? It would also make me stronger, more loving, more caring. They probably knew that they were equipping me for life and for leading myself and eventually others. Now, today's research is now documenting what my parents learned from their parents, who learned it from their parents, right? Here's what I know, and here's what the research shows. Before you can count your bumps as blessings, you first have to learn how to be grateful for the bump. Okay? And here's the best way to do that. Instead of viewing the bump as a bump, reframe it. Reframe your bump as a blessing. Now that's a great practice, a great habit. I also like to share what you must do before you reframe. So this is the work before the work, right? And so what I want to tell you is that it's also helpful to look for the good in your life, okay, as a practice as well. So look for the good things in your life. Look for the good people. Look for the good moments and celebrate those. So when your life is going smoothly, when your life is going well, when you feel like you're on top of the world, that's what I'm talking about. Now, why is that helpful? Because when you practice looking for the positive, looking for the good, you're actually training yourself to see the gifts in your life, the blessings in your life. If you can see these gifts when times are good, you can more easily find them when your road gets bumpy. Make sense? All right. In one of my books, this one's called Dare to Wear Your Soul on the Outside, I have an entire chapter just focused on gratitude, right? Now, one of the people I'm grateful for, and one of the people I quote in my book, is Dr. Richard Emmons. He is a preeminent expert on gratitude. Along with other scholars, he tells us that keeping a gratitude journal is actually good for us. In fact, it's really good for you. Here are some of the many benefits for the people who keep a gratitude journal. These people are happier, they're healthier physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. They're nicer, they're more optimistic. Guess what? They have more energy. They have less pain. They have a more positive attitude. And they sleep better. How cool is that? I can't tell you how many of my clients I encourage to keep gratitude journals, especially my coaching clients, especially my students, right? All right? Now, because your brain is wired to respond to threats, first and foremost, you have to be very intentional about reprogramming yourself, reprogramming your brain, so that gratitude becomes your go-to response, instead of the typical knee-jerk response when you hit that inevitable bump in the road. Now, research tells us that we actually need to practice gratitude frequently and to practice it with a degree of emotional intensity, right? Okay? We have to be on purpose. We have to be intentional about this. Now, I want you to try this. Recall or recreate or actually, immerse yourself in a direct experience of gratitude. And be sure that this experience lasts for at least a half a minute. Okay, 30 seconds or more. All right? Now, this could actually be an experience of a beautiful sunrise. Or you could be remembering, calling up that memory of beautiful sunrises that you have encountered, right? One of my mentors lives on the Atlantic Ocean, and he sends out videos of beautiful sunrises. Okay? You can also hear in these videos that he sends the soft sounds of the waves lapping against the shore. So it could be a sunrise, a sunset, or maybe it's a memory of you holding your son or your daughter for the very first time. Or someone on your team who just made your day, right? So once you have whatever experience it is that you are grateful for, then I want you to feel that sense of gratitude in your body, okay? I want you to actually feel those feel-good emotions that come from gratitude. And I want you to welcome them and be on purpose. Be intentional to locate in your body that sense of gratitude, somewhere specific in your body. Maybe it's running through your fingers or your chest or your throat or your head or your feet. Okay, and then I just want you to revel. Just rejoice in the positive emotions and that sensation that's running through your body. Okay? And then I want you to just let yourself lean into it. Okay? Lean into that gratitude. In other words, let yourself go. Surrender. Give it up. Surrender yourself to gratitude. This will help the sensation and the felt memory of gratitude go deep, deep, and deeper into your brain. Now, some of you are probably saying, well, you know what? I can't do this gratitude thing. I just don't have anything or anyone to be grateful for. Well, let me tell you, if you have breath in your body, that is sufficient reason to be grateful. Can I hear an amen? And here's some more good news. Most of you know about the movie called It's a Wonderful Life. Now, this is one of my favorites. If you don't know about it, it's a lovely, heartwarming story about a guy who comes to understand how horrible life would have been for all the people in his life if he had not been born, if he had not been part of their lives. Now, research actually tells us that when you really take a close look at the lessons you've learned, when you really search for that silver lining behind the dark clouds in your life, then you remember where you are in your life at this particular point, at this moment in time, then the way that you see things actually begins to shift. In fact, remembering the trials, the tribulations, the suffering, the difficulties, the losses, the traumas, helps us know that now that we're on the other side of those hardships, the bright spots happened because of the difficulty. Now, when you recall how hard your life once was and the road you traveled to be here now, the road you traveled and how far you have traveled, you actually set up a clear contrast in your mind. And this contrast becomes a wonderful soil for gratefulness to take root in and to blossom. Did you know that gratitude is actually one of the many aspects of resilience? Now, before we talked about the long arms of gratitude, well, resilience is one of those arms, right? So that means that when the hard times set in, gratitude can help you bounce back better. Okay, that's what resilience is all about, being able to bounce back after stress or hardship or difficulty. And it also means that you'll be able to pinpoint the positive when life throws you a curveball. As an element of resilience, gratitude helps you recover from adversity. Now, earlier I mentioned that when you make gratitude a habit, it can become part of your physical and psychological immune system that will help you transform trauma into opportunity, pain into possibility, turning your victim mindset into a victorious mindset. So when something awful occurs in your life, I want you to stop, look, and listen. Then ask yourself, what is the lesson in this for me? What's the silver lining here? What's the rainbow that I can find? Right? How can I turn these lemons into lemonade? In other words, how can I be grateful for this awful event or person or moment or circumstance? How can I be grateful for this adversity? And then how can I flip it and reframe it and be thankful for it? All right. If you learned something in the show today, be sure to tell somebody. I want you to share the wealth. Share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers, so they can be lifted up and inspired and equipped just like you. You know what? One of the biggest gifts you can give to someone else is to give them the gift of you. It is to use your gifts, your talents, and your signature presence that exists nowhere else on the planet. So ask yourself, how will I use my leadership to reimagine my team, my law practice, my police force, my city council, my school building? How can I provide a lifeline to someone I may never know so that you can make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others? As we continue to celebrate the majestic music of your life, I want to celebrate you for making your life count. Be sure to join me next week. Now, if you missed last week's show or any part of this week's show, you can listen to the recording at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. Check it out at iTunes, SoundCloud, Alexa, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and many, many other places. Or you can tune in right here at Talk Network Radio. That's www.talknetworkradio.com/legacyliving.html. Okay? All right. Now, before I close today's show, I want to thank each of you for tuning in, for allowing me to share a bit about my journey with what legacy living is all about. Not just living and learning, but living and learning and serving so that you make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others. It's about being on purpose every single day, 365